Really? So, my name is Emmanuel. I was born in Zimbabwe. I went to study in South Africa. I did a law degree there. Kind of realized later on that I wouldn't that was not the profession for me, but I finished what I was doing because that's what you do. You finish what you started. And then I had to figure out like a career path that made more sense for me. So I started learning how to code. I was initially intimidated by software engineering because I thought I wasn't smart enough for it, but I persisted nonetheless. I got myself working in data positions, data analyst, data engineer at companies like Google and another company called Yoko. And then I moved to the US about 5 years ago. When I moved, I built a startup to train data engineering talent in Africa and outsource them across the continent. Raised 50 grand from investors for that. Things didn't work out, primarily for two reasons. I think 50,000 it didn't go as far in the US as it would have gone if I'd stayed in South Africa, for example. That's one reason. The other reason is that the
Okay,
model we
okay.
had was that people would only repay the cost after they got hired, and many junior roles were not they didn't pay enough for us to recover the cost fully from our users. So the model fell apart for that reason. Um, but I got back into engineering nonetheless. It was a struggle. I guess I'm telling you a story to kind of like paint the context behind why I built this. So it's very relevant.
Understand.
But so
Understand.
I struggled to get into software engineering because I was in a new country. I didn't have a computer science background. I didn't have the right credentials, basically. So I didn't have that buy-in. I had to email CTOs. I had to try all sorts of things, like crazy stuff. Eventually, I got an opportunity by emailing the right CTO at the right time and detailing what their company was about because I researched the company like in detail and telling them like the value that I'd provide and showing them the work that I'd done. So I got my shot at engineering by doing that. There were layoffs very quickly after that, so it didn't last for too long. But I continued building because I enjoy building. I went to hackathons in person. I went to open source companies to present things I was building. Um, I won some hackathons. At some point, I went to pitch this tool because I got a paying user for a tool that I built, like an ad automation tool. So I went to Manhattan and started pitching to founders in person. In my head, it was like either they're gonna pay for my product or they're gonna hire me or contract me for the skills that I'm showing. Each time I was doing that, I was sharing my journey on LinkedIn, like sharing videos, sharing like what I was going through, what I was doing. So it didn't work out in the sense of like I didn't get like that feedback immediately. But as a result of sharing the journey, I got approached by a recruiter from a large private equity and got hired by them as a software engineer. So basically, the journey for me has been a journey of grit, a journey of self-learning, a journey of like just being underestimated, but just continuing to persist and grow. So because of that, it kind of models the context that I have to build Funda AI and the ideology that I have in how I go about building future talent. Like I want to build talent that is very resilient, that is assertive, that's obviously very technical and very skilled, but at the same time, not the conventional software engineer who just sits and just does work on their own, but the software engineer who's able to talk to users and go out there and aggressively get stuff done, if that makes sense. So that's me in a nutshell. Do you want to tell me more about you, Aruna?
Okay. That was some introduction. Your story is truly one of great and all of that. Yeah, like those were some very, very crazy moves. Oh, well, for me, I call myself an educator, but I've been in the tech space intentionally, not going into software development, but I've been around talent development majorly. So my 10 years in that space and still in the space is all around talents. So because I believe I kind of understand the ecosystem very well, and I always try to make people see that, oh, you can make something of yourself through tech. So while in university, outside university, while in the classroom, it has always been my goal. Anything around talent development, especially in the tech space, that's what I've been doing so far. So especially the fact that right now, I believe Africa has a long way to go to catch up with, the education in the global space. So the only catalyst for us now is STEM. So if you want to fast track thing, if you want to make sure that we are on par with the global space and those we are trying to reach in terms of the standard of education, STEM is what we can actually use. So anything around STEM, anything around talent development within the tech space is what I am doing currently. I might be in the classroom, but I network, I do the evangelism in the classroom as well, outside the classroom, even teachers, and right now trying to move into the policy space because that will also fast track things. So that's what I've been doing for the past 10 years in my view.
Nice. I like the part about like the one channel for Africa to grow and catch up is through tech and through STEM. I believe that 100%, particularly with this like
Yes,
this AI push. We're getting to a point
yes,
where like having a STEM background is becoming like a requirement because everything's just tech enabled. If you don't
yes, yes,
exist
yes.
in that space, you're just getting left behind. So I like that a lot, big time.
Thank you
Um,
for that.
I'm going to share my screen and show you the presentation that I have to walk you through Funda AI. Just give me a second to get the right presentation set up on my end. Okay, so let me know if you can see my screen, by the way. Can you see my screen now? The screen share.
It's coming up now. Yeah, I can see it now.
Nice. So yeah, so Funda AI is an AI school. I guess in line with the mission that you mentioned, it's like the point is to build young 12 to 18-year-olds into a pipeline of software engineers who can be outsourced to work for like global companies essentially. Again, it's
Interesting.
like basically mirroring what you're saying, that the path to our continent growing is through tech. So how it works is there's two parts to it. There's a virtual campus and a virtual apprenticeship. Now, with the
Okay,
virtual campus, kids receive, or rather parents buy a laptop for their kids that has an offline AI brain and an ecosystem of AI tutors. This is all designed to help them build the ability to think like a software engineer. So think of each AI tutor as a desktop app that teaches a specific skill that allows the kid to build that holistic mindset that allows them to then problem solve like a software engineer would. The same way as you teach kids math, not just to
yeah,
learn like math itself, but to learn problem solving skills
yes,
that can then translate to skills that are useful in like the real world. Same as
very true.
but then, with self-learning, it's challenging. Like self-learning is very challenging for adults even. It's hard to get that motivation to continually self-learn when you don't see like, the actual results from your work. Now for kids, it's even more compounded by that, basically. So what we do is we give the kids a virtual apprenticeship. So with this, we are putting the child in a team of software engineers from across the continent. Um, the team is going to be building an AI tutor for their virtual campus. So the child's joining a
Okay,
team to basically contribute to building AI tutors that they themselves use. Because of that, the child is being embedded into an actual team. They're learning practical skills that are required in the real world. A big challenge with like even computer science graduates that graduate. They graduate with the theoretical skills, but then they find that companies require them to have experience because the company's not valuing the fact that you have this theory that you learned because they can't validate how useful that is to them. Companies value the practical, like they're not just hiring you to write code, right? They're hiring you to solve problems ultimately. And that's something you show through experience. So we're giving the child that experience that like sometimes even graduates don't have when they graduate themselves. Um,
mm,
that's the whole gist behind that. So how it actually works in practice is like, for example, I am part of the engineering team. I find someone else who's another engineer. We build an air together. And then because I am working with another engineer who's like in a different country, who's also has a full-time job, I have to manage the tasks that we have asynchronously. So I break down that big like software build into smaller tasks or tickets. Now, some of these things are just small tasks that are then given to the children to do themselves. Then when the kid completes the task, we then review the kid's work as though we're reviewing another junior engineer's like code, basically. We
I
give them
get it.
the review is sent back to the child, but the child receives the review through a mentor. The mentor is more like a person who's designed to communicate this feedback the child has to the child in a way that's more child friendly. So it's like basically teaching them things, but they're learning through actual practice. So that's the core of
Practice.
how the system works. And to be honest, even for myself personally, the hook for engineering and how it started clicking, it came when I built something that I could play with. Now, kids, I think that works for them even to a larger extent. When they build an AI tutor and then they use it, and then they see their friends use it, it builds this like sense of like it empowers them. They see that the work they are doing has actual practical value. And you know how a child's mind is. Once a child is engaged, a child would outlearn any adult because they're like sponges, basically. But that's
Mm.
the gist of Funda AI itself. Do you have any questions so far, Aruna?
Yes. Yes, I do. Thank you very much for that. So, I saw that in the first slide, you said you're gonna give kids laptops
Yes.
with an offline brain. So, how do you plan to solve that? You know, if it's a cross-border thing,
Yes.
you're all the way over there, I'm all the way over here, and all of that.
So I can walk you through what I've done currently. So what I've done currently is I've launched like a pilot with my nephew in Zimbabwe. So with that, I
Yeah,
got a
you
laptop here.
mentioned.
So this is the image here, yeah. So I got a laptop here. I configured that with the AI model that I'm referring to with the first few AI tutors, and then I sent that out to him in Zimbabwe. I found like a courier that can send out the laptops in a very cost-effective way to keep the cost as low as possible. This is
Okay,
the pilot, obviously. The first 10 users, I would want to have that personal like touch myself where I see the laptop and I do it myself because it's just building trust in the process. But going beyond that, I'm already looking at partnerships in Zimbabwe and South Africa and Nigeria, so I can source the laptops locally and get a contractor to configure the laptop as I am doing myself locally,
okay.
and just lower the pricing point for them from that going forward. So it's a step-by-step
Uh,
process.
that's interesting. That's really interesting. I thought this was you when you were younger.
Oh no, no, this is my nephew, the first pilot shoot.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I saw I read your post about him and I also saw you put it in a message when you sent it to me as well. So that's quite interesting. In the long run, you mentioned kids working on projects with other engineers, right?
Yes, yes.
So when it comes to what those that actually builds this product, do the kids have like rights or ownership
So
since they also worked on something? Do
is it
kids have like rights or ownership
um
to build in that app?
so I guess it means I guess the question I have is what do you mean by rights and ownership first of all, just to clarify that a bit more.
Okay, so for example, you can say, oh, XYZ is built by Mr. A, Mr. B, and
Oh
Mr.
yeah. Oh
C.
yeah. Yeah.
Would the kid be mentioned?
Yes, yes. The AI
Okay.
tutor is built by XYZ and the child because they're part of the team, basically. So yeah, yeah.
All right. That's interesting. Um, okay, so you reached out to me and I'm trying to see, you also mentioned partnership, right? So,
Yes. So
okay.
I can spell out to you how I envision things going. Like
All
in
right.
So the way I see it, the best way to scale or to grow anything in the African context is like one-on-one conversations. I
Hmm.
think people build trust through actual conversations, talking to people, and like just word of mouth in general. So
Interesting.
the strategy I'm going for is building like ambassadors across the continent who
All
have
right.
like a get actual interest in education, actual touch point with kids. Because ultimately, again, engineering requires a certain level of aptitude and a certain level of interest level. So
Yes.
the ambassador on the ground is like a scout in some ways to actually spot out the children who have the raw talent. It's not about, I mean, the affordability is a factor for the time being, obviously, but it's not just about like finding people who can afford like this solution. It's finding people
Hmm.
who can afford it for starters and who the child actually has an inclination towards becoming a software engineer.
Towards
And they
it.
have that like
Very
self,
important.
exactly, exactly. And they have this like self-driven attitude, like someone who's already like they have the ingredients available to turn them into something amazing. So that's what
Mm,
I'm looking for with ambassadors. Obviously, there'll be a financial incentive, so you'd be paid for each user that's onboarded. And as long as they remain subscribed to Funda AI, you continue to be paid. Now, there's two parts to that. There's two reasons for that. One is like, obviously, I want to incentivize investors as much as possible. The other part is like, if you're being paid each time the user remains subscribed to the platform, it builds an extra layer of accountability. So now I have the accountability from the mentor to keep the child accountable. There's the parent, and then there's the ambassador who brought the child in. There's a lot of accountability layers that keep the child like accountable for their work. And you know, this
mm,
saying that's very common amongst many African countries. I'm not sure what your version would be in Nigeria, but I'm definitely sure you have it. But it's something to the tune of like it takes a village to raise a child. So it's conceptually the
yes,
same. It takes a group of
yes.
people to keep the child engaged to raise them into like a competent software engineer who can compete globally. That's the idea behind it.
Interesting. Mm, that's quite wonderful. All right. Can you like walk me through the cost? Is it a cost yet?
Yes, yes. So currently it's
Okay.
$500 for the laptop itself and $50
Okay.
for the subscription per month. It's a high price for the entire continent, realistically. But again, I see things as step-by-step process. So the first step, it just came from having conversations with like parents in Zimbabwe, Nigeria, and South Africa. I realized that the parents who send their kids to private schools, whether it's primary school, secondary school, they are more likely to be able to afford that price point. A lot of these schools already require kids to have a tablet. For example, my nephew's primary school, they are required to buy a tablet, which costs about the same as the laptop itself. So there's already that inclination to like get their kids like a device, if that makes sense. And then
Okay.
beyond that, I found that the parents who send their kids to their school, whether it's maybe it's unfortunate or fortunate, I don't know, but they tend to be more involved in their child's education in general. So the first step is to have the parents who will hold their children to the most layer of accountability to just get things smoother and just going smoother. So anyway, to summarize, the first step is to have this like the ones who can afford it to onboard the ones who can afford the platform and the cost. As time goes on, as you get more traction, it then becomes easier to approach companies and nonprofits who can sponsor laptops. And then once I can receive sponsored laptops, the cost of buying the laptop can fall away and it can be merit based. Find the kids who are just like exceptional and give them the laptop. That's it. And then there's still the cost of the month to month subscription. Now, with that, I found that there's a lot of diaspora groups in the US, in Australia, and in the UK, from Nigeria, from Kenya, from Zimbabwe. Some of
Exactly.
these are like families who are doing really well in those countries, who are willing to sponsor kids. So that I can tap into those network to get the kids who are deserving sponsored through those channels and nonprofits. So it's a step-by-step process that will eventually help me like reach out to like a larger portion who can't afford it right now. Does that make
Mm.
sense?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. I just have some few questions. What if the kids, is it necessary to get the laptop?
For the time being, yes, it is. As time goes on, we'll figure out a way to like make that a bit more flexible. I think in the beginning, you want to keep things like the same for everyone. The laptop just makes things easier. And
Okay. No, okay.
go on.
I'm asking if they can actually use their own laptop and still have the solution.
You know, technically that can be doable. It just requires me to like reconfigure the system and how things work. The reason that I want them to use the laptops that I have or that I set up is
Okay.
that I would know the laptop specifications. I would know the kind of AI model that runs on the laptop. I'll just have that like
Okay.
knowledge that just makes things easier. But you know, maybe
Interesting.
after the first 10 pilot users, then it becomes
Okay.
more easier to worry about flexibility at that point, I think.
All right then. All right. The subscription, how long is it?
So, so say it again one more time.
The subscription, how long is it?
It's up to the user. It's a user's choice. The longer you build projects, the longer you build things, the better you become as an engineer. You know, a lot of like times I would find like my white peers, for example, they would start their careers but they would seem a lot further off in engineering than other people. And then when you dig in deep, it's because they were learning how to code from when they were 10 years old with their father for example. So I
Very
see it the
true.
same way. The more you continue to build like software, the more complex the task will be, the more you grow. So it's really up to the parent and the child to decide how long they want to subscribe them for.
Okay, so we're talking over $50 per month
Yeah.
to, okay. Oh, right then. So I guess how do we make this work?
Okay, so Aruna, what I can do next is I can send through like this slide again via email after this call, send a
All
summary
right.
of the conversation, and just send the next steps going forward. I have like this basic template of like, okay, these are the target users, and this is how we can go about approaching them, and then get your thoughts from there, and then proceed basically the ambassadorship program if you want to at that point. Does that make sense?
All right. So yeah, it does. I am quite curious, forgive me.
Sure.
So uh well, I have been off LinkedIn for a while, so for just some bits, you understand? So then I saw your message and I'm like, oh, how did you make that decision?
Okay, so I thought about like, okay, who would be an ideal person to be like an actual ambassador who can one understand technology really well, understand the value of STEM, and have a connection with actual kids on the ground to assess who's a good fit or not. So I paid for LinkedIn Premium and I scour profiles and just like see like I saw your background, I saw what you
Oh,
did. I thought you'd be a good fit based on that, basically. So it's a very manual process. Like I just go about looking for profiles and seeing who's a good fit.
oh, interesting. Thank you for the honor.
No problem. No problem.
Okay. Well, I really do believe in what you're building, and I wanted to like come out straight on something. So, and that's because of the impact of what you're trying to do here and the impact of what you're trying to build. Of course, it's AI age. You could easily like use vibe coding and all of that, but then true engineering is still needed
Yeah.
in this age that we are. So it's not like you're taking software engineers out. We're just replacing with software engineers that understands AI. So, and then you're like someone is trying to build a school, you know, with kids, but what they're learning is technology and all of that for as long as possible. And this is something that will set them up for life. Yes, it will set them up for life because trying learning with adults especially is a very great experience, which I've always been looking forward to how I can plug in my students with. I work with 3 schools over here, and I'm trying to work with more. So, and I've worked with almost 7 schools across the states that I'm living here. So that's say private school, and also in the volunteering spaces. So I've seen schools around me, and I know I can't be everywhere.
Hmm.
That's just the truth.
Hmm.
I can't be everywhere. Yet I also want the impacts to be felt far and wide as much as possible. So I want to like throw this open, which is subject to your own decision and all of that. So because I don't want a kind of like whole paid partnership kind of stuff. So I'm making a deal or offering an insight into, okay, I'm not trying to help. This is not about help or something, but I would like to do more if there is something like that within your view. So,
Yeah.
but not really, oh, you have me as an ambassador here in Nigeria, help me close the deals and all of that. So, because it's a timely thing, because with me right now, I'm trying to leave the classroom. I'm still going to be with kids. I'm trying to leave the classroom because I want to work with organizations that work with lots of schools. So I
Hmm.
don't just want to be in a classroom. I want to be probably at a national office where I get sent to different schools. So I want to like enlarge my scope of impact. So, and that's why I said this is actually coming in timely because I see myself working with lots of schools, making huge impact with schools, and being in education is an intentional one for me. is an intentional one for me. I'm never leaving anything education. So that's the deal I'm trying forward to you.
Okay.
You can give it some time if you can make a decision right now,
Yeah.
but
Let,
it's
let me
open.
let me give it some thought and then I'm gonna reply by Monday or Tuesday, my time.
No,
And just let you know. But I like that a lot. Let me just give it some thought about like how that structure would work just going forward.
no problem. Meanwhile, still send what you told me you're gonna send. I think I would still like to like view it and all of that. But I think I understand it already because I've seen close to similar solutions, not for tech, just for entrepreneurship, you know.
Mm,
And I've seen the impact it does in kids. It's really, really wonderful. And I think this will really be great too.
thank you. Aruna,
Well done.
thank you so much for your time, by the way. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, you're welcome.
Have a good evening.
All right, I'll send my mail across to you on LinkedIn.
Okay. All right. Cheers
All
then.
right, thank you very much. Yeah, bye.